My name is Melanie Smith, and I want to share with everyone about my testimony. So in 2000, I moved to South Carolina as a newlywed. I married a young man from this area, and we were married for 16 and a half years. During that time, there were several years of our marriage that were very difficult. My husband struggled with some personal demons that he had a very hard time overcoming, and it was hard for both of us for many years. And it was something that I really prayed about and cried out to God about on his behalf. And I truly believed that God was going to heal him and that God was going to restore our marriage, and that we would come through it and be able to be a testimony to other people going through similar circumstances. However, on September 17th, 2016, he passed away very unexpectedly, and that was absolutely the worst day of my life. I just really struggled with that because I didn't understand, after having prayed and just really having sacrificed and trusting God, I did not understand why God didn't answer my prayer the way that I wanted him to. It was a few days later when I was preparing the eulogy for his funeral that God just really opened my eyes to the fact that he had healed my husband. He just had not healed him the way that I wanted him to, or the way that I was expecting him to. And so even though the next few weeks and months were extremely difficult and devastating, I had peace that God was not finished with my story. That is something that God continued to reveal to me over and over again, was that my story was not over.
I'm Rod Smith. I grew up in Seneca, a football player, went to Seneca High. I went through a season where I was real heavy into drugs and alcohol, and just really my path in life was distorted, so to say. My mom was really worried about me, and so she asked a guy named Dave McCauley would he talk with me. So we had some conversation. I ended up giving my life to Christ, and that set me on just a great path in my life. I met a really nice lady. Her name was Rowena Goldsmith, and she was just an awesome woman of God. And we dated for 2 years, and then the hardest thing I ever went through was she passed away. She had a heart murmur. I'll never forget that night when I got home from the hospital. I was reading the Word, and I came across Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path." And I said, "Lord, I don't understand why this has happened. I don't understand, but Lord, I trust you. I know you got a plan, and I'm gonna trust you and know that something good is gonna come out of this."
About 7.5, 8 months later, I received a Facebook message from a guy that I had met several years earlier, who I had been a friend to. We had met through mutual friends back in 2001.
In 2017, I met an amazing woman, Melanie Myers, and we had been mutual friends for a while, about 16 years. And we just really had a lot in common.
He had also been through a similar situation of losing someone very close to him, and so we could kind of, have that in common, of just going through that grief and walking through that valley, and just we were able to talk about what God was doing in our lives.
It's funny that both our losses kind of prepared us for when we met to really appreciate and enjoy life. And we know life is short, and so we were full of life, and we were believing God just to. We knew our stories wasn't over.
We basically were inseparable after that. And we realized very early on that we wanted to get married, and we talked about having children. I had had difficulty getting pregnant in my first marriage, and then it just got to the point where it was probably just best that we not have children in that relationship. And so I had kind of accepted the fact that I would never be a mom, and I had peace about that. But it was also something that I kind of grieved and that I wanted. And so when Rod and I, began getting serious and talking about marriage and the possibility of having children, that hope just kind of rebirthed itself. And so we were married March the 9th in 2018. And a year later, we found out we were pregnant with Charlotte.
So when that day came, we found out we were pregnant. We were so excited. And God really does give beauty for ashes. He turned both our stories around. I think about when I was a kid, growing up without a father, and now that I'm a father now, I look at God in a different way. I look at fatherhood in a different way. I'm so grateful that I have that title of a father, but now I know our Heavenly Father is the ultimate Father, and I can learn from Him. And so Charlotte has been such a blessing in our lives, and I'm so grateful for just how God had been so faithful to His Word. He's been so faithful to His Word, and we can take Him at His Word, and we can trust Him. And just even in the midst of the storm, even in the midst of the tough times, He's there. He's faithful, and He'd always be there for us.
Just looking back, it's Rod and I often laugh about and just marvel at the fact of where God has brought us just in that short time frame. The devastation that he and I both went through in, losing someone that we loved and cared about and just really believed that we were going to spend the rest of our lives with, and the pain that we suffered from that, and then just the way that God truly did bring beauty from our ashes and brought us two together and blessed us in ways that we could have never asked or imagined. God He's never going to forsake us. He's never going to leave us. As I said, He's never going to waste a tear, never going to waste a pain. I just hope that strengthens other people. There have been opportunities since my first husband's death where I've been able to minister to people who are going through something similar and just let them know that God is for us, that He fights for us. It doesn't always feel like it. It doesn't always look like it. But He definitely is always for us, and He will bring us forth as gold after we travel through those fires. He will bring us forth as gold and use us for the glory of His kingdom.